Previously on Survivor Branford. Going into the Final Four, Sam felt he had one option: win the next immunity challenge, or suffer the same fate as 10 before him. When Sarah was the one to guarantee her spot in front of the jury, she, Michelle, and Sarah Elizabeth could each see the finish line. Michelle, loyal to Sarah Elizabeth and Sarah for most of the game, put her trust in them, and let her actions of saving them both at the final 6 speak for themselves. Sam, meanwhile, tried to make any case he could to have the others vote out the presumed winner in waiting, Michelle. When the votes were read, it was Sarah Elizabeth who decided to make the flip and send Sam into a fire-making challenge with Michelle, throwing one last obstacle in their not-so-smooth path to the end. With Sarah and Sarah Elizabeth already securing their spot in front of the jury, who will join them, and who will walk away the winner of Survivor Branford Season 7? Okay, go. Michelle is the first with flame. Sam's taking great care to build a sound structure. He has fire now. Both fires look very healthy right now. The challenge is getting them to grow high enough to burn through the rope. Sam's on the right track. Michelle's teepee is kind of fallen over. He needs to start from the beginning. Sam continues to build. Sam has a huge fire right now. The rope is starting to turn black. Michelle's not out of this.
Yes!
Yeah.
Let's go!
Wins the fire making challenge.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Come here. Come here.
Michelle, that was a fantastic game you
Yeah.
played. Fell just one spot short of the end. Lost in a fire making challenge, the first that we've ever done in Survivor Branford. So you have a lot to be proud of, but for now, I'm sorry I have the unfortunate duty of saying tribe has spoken. Time for you to go.
I mean, I get it. I get the game move, but to be honest, I think it's Sam's to lose at this point. Or, I mean, Sarah has a chance. She did win the final challenge. I knew when it was fire building, I was done. But I trusted Sarah Elizabeth. I understand the game move, but as I told her, it's like, okay, I understand if you get rid of me right now and keep Sam, you're basically just picking somebody else above you. I mean, it's just, you know, there were 2 threats. Like, yeah, I might have been a notch higher possibly, but, you know, she knew what she did, and so it is what it is. It's not what I would have liked. Yeah, I mean, I did everything I could. I feel like I was loyal to Sarah to the end. Sarah Elizabeth, I was loyal to. You know, it is what it is, but it was a fun time.
I needed to do one thing and make sure everything went perfectly to secure my spot in the final three, and I did it. My relationship with Sarah E paid off in the end because I don't think I would have had that split vote scenario if it wasn't for my ongoing relationship with her. So chips finally fell where they should have, and I hope at this point I can persuade the jury. There are some bridges that that have been burned that I need to address in front of the jury to smooth over that side, but I hope they can understand I stayed pretty much under the radar as much as possible. I didn't get a single vote cast for me until that last tribal council. So I hope that makes a good enough case for me to win Survivor. And I know I've been back and forth and teetering. The thing with me is I'm very vocal on like what my thoughts are, and my thoughts can flip-flop. You know, I'm glad that the vote went that way. I think it was definitely exciting.
Well, I had one idea of how today was going to go, and I was fairly certain it was going to be that I, stayed strong with Michelle, who had done something for me. She had saved me that one time, but I realized, I have played my own game as well, and she kept me in because she had a reason to keep me in, not because she wanted to see me win. So I got so caught up in the relationships and liking people, but at the end of the day, it is a game. I wanted to win. And she wasn't going to allow anyone else. She had the argument right in front of her that she had won all those challenges, and she had orchestrated a few incredible game moves, things I didn't see coming, things that I wasn't privy to. But at the end of the day, I still feel like she kept me around and other people kept me around because of the game that I was playing, where, for the most part, I was telling people exactly what I was going to do. I was telling people exactly what I was going to do and not hiding anything. I had the idol on me for 6 tribal councils, and I'm happy to see Sam in the final because I feel like we had a really solid relationship. I mean, he did turn on me a few times, but at the end of the day, I get that he's in it for himself too, and I'm happy that we're both here, and I hope people vote for me. There were times that you withheld information from me, but then I was like, I withheld information from you too.
Yeah.
We were both playing
We were
our own
both
games,
almost
but
covert ops.
parallel together.
Yeah, right. You had your alliance.
We were both
and
working.
I had my
both
alliance,
sides.
but we both had that kind of back and forth.
I'm really thankful that we got to work together.
So obviously that vote didn't go the way I was hoping, but I stuck to what I said, and I feel like that's the most important thing. Michelle tried her best, and sad that she didn't make it, but Sandra did a good job, and we'll see how the jury votes go, but I feel that my gameplay wasn't the strongest, so I feel like the other people have a better chance than me, but you never know, and we'll see.
If I have a reason for somebody to be upset with me, I don't like that. I want to have peace and be cordial with anyone that I interact with. That's just me on a very, very human basic level. Which is why it was kind of tough to do some of the things I had to do this weekend. I definitely don't want there being any hard feelings afterwards. I'm glad that I met you guys. You guys are fun. You guys are fun competitors. And maybe next time we can play a more less arduous strucking game like Scrabble or something like that.
Yeah.
So if we might want to do a Scrabble Branford.
Yeah.
So there's not as much beef between people. We can actually have pleasant conversations.
Welcome everyone to Final Tribal Council. Congratulations to the final 3. You each got here your own way, so you'll be explaining that to the jury, how you individually made it here and why you deserve the title of sole survivor of this game. Jury, you're here to collect information that you'll need to make a decision as to which of the 3 you feel played the best game and deserves to be crowned the winner of our season. So the way that Final Tribal Council works is that we're going to allow each of the final 3 to make an opening statement, set the table for what's to come and what you want the jury to know right away. From there, we'll move to a group discussion with the jury, following the themes of outwit, outplay, and outlast. And then you can each make a very brief closing statement, Then the jury votes. They're voting for the winner, so you want to see your name on the paper this time. I'll read the votes, we'll crown our winner, and then we will call it a weekend. Okay, so then with that, we'll start with Sarah first for an opening statement.
Okay. This has been really fun. First time here. I tried my best in each challenge. As evident by, I feel like the women's team did really well. I tried to stay loyal to people that were loyal to me. I didn't want to go behind anyone's back, and I don't really think that that's something I did. And I just tried to stay as true to myself as I felt like I could be during the game, and told the truth to people that I wanted to be with. I feel like that's how I played.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Sarah Elizabeth, your opening statement.
Yeah, I think I played the game in a really unique way that people aren't kind of used to. From the get-go, I feel like my game started when I found the clue, and all the girls that were there, I was just like, hey, I found the clue. This is the clue. And there were 5 girls there, and that was the beginning of a newbie alliance, is what we called it. And then I found immunity, and I told everyone, because I knew that as long as I had that in my pocket, if I were to ever catch wind of any kind of like shift in, or like, you know, would make people want to vote for me, then I could play that. But it felt like I had quite a buffer for a while there, where just like the fact that that was out in the open made people hesitant, because it would throw a wrench in whatever their plans were for the vote. I was loyal with my closest ally, Lexi, and I wanted to play with her till the end. Halfway through, I met Sam, and I knew I was never at the center of the girls' alliance. Like, I didn't have a buddy who wanted to take me to the end. So me and Sam we teamed up, and I was, playing with my side of, the merged tribe, and he was playing with his side of the merged tribe. Even at the times when I was, hanging by a thread, I think because I was saying exactly what I was doing, people wanted to keep me in, because then they had that predictability. It was like Sarah's gonna vote exactly the way she said she voted, and she will be completely honest about who she voted for afterwards. And I think that strategy worked, and although I did get swept up a little bit towards the end, because I really like everyone here, and I really like Michelle, and I really admire, Michelle crushed this game harder than anyone, but at the end, she kept me around because of the game that I was playing, and so that, I think, is a reflection of my game too.
All right, and now Sam, give us your opening statement.
Yeah, so to the jury, I want to open up with a quote that I live by and that I genuinely go about my day-to-day life. It's by Charles Darwin. It's not the most intelligent of the species that survives, nor the strongest of the species that survives. It's the most that's adaptable to change. I feel like throughout this whole game, the men's tribe, the king's tribe, had a tough time with winning challenges. And off the bat, I was able to make connections with certain individuals to help keep me in the majority. And throughout the time building relationships with people, it was extremely difficult to vote off some of the people I had to vote off. So if there's anyone who has a sour taste in their mouth, I genuinely do want to apologize. And if there's any questions on that, I'd like to have the opportunity to address them, and we'll welcome them with open arms. When we got to the merge, and I was in the minority of the group, and that's when, as Sarah E. alluded to, I built a relationship with her. So I was able to stay in the majority that way. And then ultimately, and arguably the most important decision I had to make, was having to sway Sarah to get Michelle to go to a fire-making challenge with you. I had to make this decision because, my back was against the wall. I just don't like rubbing people the wrong way, and I had to do what I had to do to adapt and to change. With my back against the wall, I was able to pull myself to the final 3, and I hope you guys understand where I had to come from for that.
All right, thank you, final 3, for those opening statements. So now we're going to open the conversation up to the jury. So we're going to begin, as I said, with the outwit portion. So let's focus the discussion on strategic moves, how you guys got to where you were, how they got to where they were, kind of any of the decisions that you had to make that steered the game in the direction that it ultimately went. So if anybody wants to open it up, feel free.
To a question for Sarah, Elizabeth, you talked about your decision to share having the idol with everyone and kind of providing protection. Did you weigh that against the idea that that could make you a much bigger target, which it did, where people kept talking about voting you out without you knowing?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the beginning, I was scared. I was afraid that it would put a target on my back, and I was super untrusting of people because I was like, yeah, they know I have the idol, and that's a big game move to like find the idol and then tell everyone about it. That is a big move. So I was afraid that, you know, people wouldn't want to go to the end to me because I would have this kind of argument for myself. Whether it's like good for them or not, I feel like people like that feeling of security in such a dynamic and like crazy game where people can flip on you at any moment. Ultimately, the way I related to people kept me safe.
I have a follow-up question for Sarah Elizabeth. So how would you say telling everyone that you have the idol is a big game move?
Because wouldn't it almost be a bigger game move to not tell people and then possibly be able to blindside somebody with it later?
Whenever someone has the idol, it doesn't happen often that everyone knows about it. I think that that was a unique move in and of itself. Even when I wasn't playing the idol, I was having it in my pocket. I was showing up with my sweatshirt and that heavy bit of rocks in my pocket.
Was the idol itself not the bag of rocks? No, it was in the bag of rocks.
But I also, I don't know, yeah, I liked having that girthy, like, you know, thing there. I don't know if you might not have even noticed it, but it felt like my little security blanket.
I have another follow-up question. I mean, if you're saying you played such an open and honest game and you never lied, you told everyone exactly what you were
Oh, I don't
doing.
think that's true.
You lied to my face.
Yeah, you lied to a lot of
Yeah.
people, I think. And I mean, you committed to me on the beach and then looked straight in my eye and told me you were voting for someone else, and all of that was a lie.
So how do you defend this like honest game?
Or right after every single vote, I would say, okay, that is what I did. I'm saying that everybody, you know, does a little bit, but right after every single vote, and like, yeah, you have to make those decisions at a certain point, but and everybody does.
I'll ask you a question.
Sarah, what would you say is
The biggest strategic move that you made in the game?
I know that I didn't have a lot. I stuck with people. I think ultimately it was sticking with people that I felt I was comfortable with throughout the game, and just trying to vote and be true to the people that I was with.
Okay. Follow-up question. I heard that you were the rogue Lisa vote, and I thought we were tight. How can you say that was like an open and honest game?
I will admit that that was my vote. I wasn't sure who was telling me the truth or not. I was getting different vibes being pulled by different people, and I wasn't sure who was going with what. I will own up to it. That was one that I made the wrong call, but after that point, I stuck with the people that I felt like.
The first Lisa Rogue vote, the second Lisa Rogue vote, or the third Lisa Rogue vote? Which you got Lisa Rogue?
The very first. Okay. So after that, yeah.
I have a question. So I feel like the last three people that were voted out, Michelle, Joe, Dennis, they all had a little more agency in the game. So I want you three to tell us what moment in the game do you think you had the most control over the direction the game was going?
Well, I guess I'll go first. Really, it was when I won immunity. That was the point where I had the most agency. I stuck with Michelle because that was my alliance from the beginning, and so, you know.
I mean, I'd say the most agency I had was I had to make some strategic decisions where I had to go against my word for certain people, but that led me to my other move of agency and power position where I had the relationship with Sarah, and I was able to leverage that to have her vote for Michelle to force us into a fire-making challenge in which that would contribute and be the final piece to my outplay portion because I didn't have a strong portion of that in the game. And if I didn't have that, I feel like I wouldn't have a good case of winning the game.
I mean, I would say a few times towards the beginning, I really pulled for getting certain people out. I felt like I rallied the troops and tried to get Melissa to vote that way and tried to get Sarah to vote that way as well.
But neither of them voted that.
The last conversation I had with you before you all voted Angela out was to get Sarah out. So you didn't try to rally my vote for Angela.
Yeah. You told us both that you were going to vote for Sarah.
Well, yeah, you sat me down in like a hot seat. Yeah, you sat me down and like grilled me. And you were like making me feel a certain way, like, okay, yeah, I'll do whatever you say. Because I felt like intimidated by you, I'm sorry.
Okay. So my question for Sam is, one of the votes after the merge, it wasn't immediately after the merge, but Yumi, Lexi, and Sarah Elizabeth were aligned, and there were votes going, one of the many times, there were votes rumored to be going Sarah Elizabeth's way to try and flush out her idol. You had told Sarah Elizabeth, hey, there's votes going your way, play your idol. I had told Sarah Elizabeth that as well. I told Sarah Elizabeth that when no one else was around. You told Sarah Elizabeth that when Lisa was around. Lisa got word of that, and then the vote ended up going to Lexi. And that's one of the reasons why Lexi was voted out at that time. In my eyes, I felt like I couldn't rely on you to help me with strategic moves anymore. Why was I wrong?
The biggest thing that I struggled with is finding the game was super fast paced, and I had to make game time decisions, and I did play the game a little paranoid. I tend to overpromise and underdeliver. Like, that's one thing that I want to make apparently clear, so I understand to the point where you couldn't trust me anymore.
I could still trust you, I just couldn't rely on you.
Right, but at the same token, that's where I also felt a little distrust from you, because I was completely thrown off guard when I saw the first ballot for Lexi. I was thrown off guard because I thought, oh, this is going the other way, and I was completely out of the loop on that.
How do you see that as a strategic advantage to follow through on all of those promises not to write someone's name down? That's almost advertising who you're in alliance with, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I see that as trustworthy and a strategic partner. Because I know when we were talking once, you said, oh, I can't vote Sarah Elizabeth because I promised not to write her name down.
So why I did that was because I felt like there was a connection there, and I felt like there was leverage. Like, we had our own individual alliances. Like, I had mine with Joe and Dennis, and she had hers on the women's side as well, and we were able to almost work together to come to a common consensus. If I didn't play the way I had in keeping her till the end and having to break some promises, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Where you wouldn't vote for Sarah Elizabeth, that got me eliminated. Feel like those things, those kind of throwaway votes do have ramifications in the game.
And to Dennis's point, Sam, I think that vote, what was going in your mind going into that vote when you didn't vote for Sarah Elizabeth? Had you not lost a number in that vote, this could have been a very different situation.
So that was the one, if I remember correctly, that's the one I put your name down on, right?
As the one Michelle
The
vote,
one,
yes.
right. So I felt like I was on the outs on that one, because I thought the original game plan, which I had discussed with Joe, was to go with Michelle. That's where I kind of lost a little bit of trust in my alliance. That's where I had to adapt to the game and to side with the person that I could trust at the time, which was Sarah Elizabeth.
But if you're siding with Sarah Elizabeth, how come you each voted for different people and you were the only Michelle vote?
Well, I was like out of the loop on that thing. I thought the plan was to vote you out, and then when I had to make the secondary vote between Sarah and Sarah Elizabeth, I had to vote Sarah.
I have a question for Sarah. So Sarah, it seemed like your plan going into the final four was to vote Sam out with Sarah Elizabeth and Michelle. What was your plan for the final three in defending your game against Michelle's game?
Just as I said, like, I didn't plan on winning. I knew that if she got here, she would get all the votes because she could play a really good game. I felt like she deserved to be here, and she saved me. I wouldn't be here if she didn't save me. So.
If you could choose to switch with somebody else, would you? Do you like being here? Do you want to be sitting here?
I do like sitting here. It's fun. I mean, I didn't think I'd make it this far, but I think Michelle deserves to be here. So.
Thank you for your honesty.
Okay, so now we'll move to the outplay portion of the conversation, which is discussing the physical parts of the game, challenges, etc. So, if there's anybody who hasn't spoken yet and would like to, maybe lead us off.
Some of the challenges had some opportunities to take shortcuts in the way you positioned or the way you held the various objects. Do you think all three of you guys followed both the spirit and the letter of each game?
Absolutely. I want to just say straight up, like, I had, and I don't want to use this as a sympathy ploy, obviously, but I got this on Tuesday of this week, and I was pissed off because I thought I wasn't going to be able to make this. I put my balls to the walls in every single one of those challenges. Like I put on jeans to go crawl on the beach with these broad ass shoulders walking. I gave it my all in every single challenge, and I think the ultimate challenge had to be the fire.
I think you really answered, like, did you stay within all, like, the letter and the spirit of the law? Like, you know, where feet are positioned on docks or stuff like that. I think that's what you're getting at.
I think I had a head start in the floaty one. I might have dismantled a little too soon.
I tried to ask as many like questions as possible to make sure that like I was like within like bounds of whatever. I think the dock one is a pretty good example, that your toes have to be up. And so I really tried to abide by those things, and then also find like a position that worked for me, and I found squatting worked better. Nobody said you couldn't squat. I would also say though, with like the color memory game, there was a call there that went in my favor that I might have disagreed with, where like I like switched the colors. I was like, hey, look at mine, look, but like I hadn't like fully like done the thing. I think I played every game to the best of my ability and not taking any shortcuts. If there was, it was probably unintentional.
Sarah, as the only one to actually win individual immunity once, how do you think that gives you a leg up on your other two in the final three?
I mean, it just shows that do give me some leg up in voting and discussions with the people. Just in general, I stuck with how I felt like I should stay. I didn't try to flip anything. I tried to stick with what I felt was right and what I wanted to go with, and that was sticking with the people that got me there.
Sam, how did you utilize individual immunity at this first merge vote, knowing that you were safe to better your spot in the game?
I think I stuck with my original alliance of Joe and Dennis. When Lexi and I won that individual immunity, it gave me a good chance to feel out how the dynamics of the women's tribe was working together.
Okay, and finally we'll move to the outlast portion of the conversation, which is just, we need to clarify anything that was said already, if new questions have popped into your head along the way, anything that you still feel you need in order to make your vote, now's the time to get that done.
Just one final question, I guess, for each of you. What is the biggest reason why each of us should vote for you?
I think the biggest reason to vote for me was because I knew I had to get you voted out because you would have won this game. Just a quick show of hands from the jury right now. If Michelle was in my position right now, who would have voted Michelle? Right there, that she would have won this game. And the other thing that I wanted to know was, going through this entire game, the only 2 votes that were cast for me were in the final 4. I haven't had a single vote cast for me this whole game. And I think that should speak to my gameplay.
You were never under threat though, really. So you never like survived anything because nobody was ever going toward you.
Was that intentional or was that luck?
I was trying my best to not be made a target. I was trying to make my case that I wasn't, and genuinely, I didn't think I was until that final 4.
I think there were a lot of shakeups this season, and with the newbies here and with the guys and the girls, like all sorts of things that couldn't be predicted in the game this year. I think it took a unique, different approach to the game that kind of no one has ever taken before to get to where I am now. I didn't mean to oversell myself on the honesty. I'm trying to say that everything I said was like the truth all the time, but I tried to create transparency so that most people could have a sense of what was going to happen. We were making decisions. I tried to work with the group, I guess.
Throughout the game, I didn't feel safe, just for the most part. I know we started off with a pretty strong alliance in the beginning. That last vote between Sarah, Elizabeth, and myself, I was not saved on my own, but the alliance I made helped to save at least both of us for that point. I tried to play open with most people, tried to be receptive to what people were saying and open to other ideas, different possibilities, and just tried to play the game with as many people as possible.
I have a question for Sarah Elizabeth. Why didn't you play your hidden immunity idol for Lexi if she was your biggest ally in the game?
Because I thought she was safe. I should have. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have played it Lexi.
I just want to say congratulations to the 3 of you. I mean, you all did a great job. You all made it farther than all of us. So I know this is a high pressure situation,
Yeah, good job.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's
congrats,
tough to be
guys.
up there.
Okay, thanks, jury. We'll now allow the final three to make closing statements very briefly. Last impression that you have to make on the jury. So this time we'll start with Sam first.
I think I laid out all the dirty laundry I could have in terms of the decisions I made and how I had to make them. You know, I genuinely think if this game was longer, I would have had a better opportunity to build more relationships with a lot more of you. Every decision that I made, I had to do to get me to this point. I just hope you recognize the things that I had to overcome to get me to sitting in this position.
I feel like the theme has been to just take it one day at a time and take naps and try and be nice to people and try like not to hurt people's feelings and then use your idol as a warm blanket. That's all I got.
Okay, and Sarah?
I mean, I've said all I could say really. Tried to play with everyone I could and try to be honest about most of my moves and things that I did. Try to play a good game.
Okay, well, thanks for final three for everything that you had to say, and thank you to the jury for all the questions that you asked. The last thing we have to do is to vote, and Ryan, we'll have you vote first. Alright, so I have the votes. I'd like to thank everybody for coming this weekend, for playing. You guys, you want to see your names here? Alright, without further ado. First vote, Sam. Sam. 2 votes, Sam. Sam.
Yes.
3 votes, Sam. Sam. And Sam and Braille. 4 votes, Sam. Winner of Survivor Branford Season 7, Sam. Sam, come on over.
Oh man.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it
this
very much.
weekend.
Thank you for having me.
I have
Thank you all
your
for having me.
$140 prize that you've earned over the past 2 days.
Wow.
Well deserved.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's just reasons like this that I like building relationships with people, and I just like meeting people. And I think this weekend, you know, game aside, I was very fortunate to meet new people that I haven't met before. And you guys were all great competitors. You're all great people, and I'm just super excited to have had this experience and to be a part of it.
And congratulations to Sarah and Sarah Elizabeth. Well done.